The Badger football team is back in action following their bye weekend, hosting Bowling Green on Saturday at 11 a.m. Camp Randall Stadium. Game will be televised by ESPN2. Head coach Gary Andersen is here. We'll have some opening comments and take questions.
Okay, a quick review of the bye week. I thought it was an excellent opportunity for the youth in the program, not just the ones that are traveling and playing right now, but our numbers are up with the young kids to be able to have the scrimmages with those young guys late in the week, which was great to see. Those young offensive linemen, young defensive linemen playing in kind of a real game, not just being a prep squad guy throughout the season. So that was a huge positive. We had one scrimmage with them and then two heavy thud scenarios. Good to see the development and some individual with their coaches. Use the rest of the week to get some guys healthy, use the rest of the week to continue the development of the younger kids in the program. So it was a good week. I think we got a lot done mentally, and hopefully physically we walk back here where we need to be. Moving on to Bowling Green, very, very good offensive team. The numbers would speak that after 3 weeks. Ran 121 or 22 plays last week, scoring 40-some-odd points a game. Very good at the wide receiver position, very good at the running back position, and they've done a lot, very efficient on the offensive side of the football, and punted once last game, so they're rolling on that side of the ball. The quarterback is playing well. And not much drop-off, if any drop-off, from the first quarterback to the young man that's playing now. So it'll be a big challenge for us. Defensively, we have to be on our toes and take care of our business. Offensively, we need to do what we do. We need to get back to playing, solid, consistent offense, and we expect to play that way against a defense that's going to be aggressive. Their defensive structure in the last 2 games has become much more aggressive, and we expect a lot of blitzes and at all different times on the field, and that's kind of been growing within their defensive system the last couple weeks, and we expect it to continue to grow against us. So a championship team a year ago, playing with a lot of confidence, excited about the opportunity to start preparing for Bowling Green, but they are a good team, and we'll use every day we can to get prepared for them.
Jesse.
Gary, you mentioned the 113 plays Bowling Green ran this weekend. Is that about as fast an offense as you've seen? And I know you've played against a lot of different offenses here, but what's the biggest challenge of how quick they try to go? Yeah,
it is really fast. If you break it down, take the Indiana game and just put it at all 3 games, I believe it's like 85 snaps a game that they snap it. So that's a good number. It's not, it's not 100 plays consistently a game. That game just kind of fed into them over 100 plays, which is a lot. But they do move quickly. They're up on the ball. It is always a challenge. One of the best ways to put a hindrance onto a no-huddle offense and the way they want to go fast is we have a home crowd, and they're pretty powerful. So hopefully they can get involved, which I'm sure they will, and they'll do their part. And then we've got to get lined up and be able to communicate. When our fans are loud, we've got to be able to communicate and handle it as a defense, and hopefully on offense they have a little bit of a struggle with that. But we've practiced against pace, we'll continue to, and we can't allow their pace to affect the game in a positive way. It causes some issues, but we've got to be prepared for it.
You mentioned their aggressive play defensively. Do they blitz more to stop runs, or do they try to get after the quarterback with the blitzes?
A mixed bag last week. They were blitzing Indiana when they would get into 1st and 10, middle of the field, and different personnel groups. They would play zero coverage behind it and bring the house and basically +1 you. So it was in the run game and it was in the throw game, both, and more so last week than the week before.
Tom.
Gary, is this offense an example of why you felt the need to diversify your defense and get run faster and quicker?
Yeah, it is. They have some very skillful kids, and there's 4 or 5 kids out there that can really run. The tailback is a converted wide receiver, and he's a proven very good tailback, but he's fast also. So you've got to be able to, in my opinion, in today's day and age of football, the way it's changed, you've got to be able to get into a package where you can get 3 corners on the field, 4 corners on the field, or even have a safety come down and play linebacker. It just depends on what direction you want to head with your scheme. But you'll be hard-pressed in today's college football to find a defense that doesn't at least get to 3 corners or some type of subs past the bigger groups when people are playing bigger on offense and getting smaller as they go down.
Gary, I think you were asked last week on the Big Ten teleconference about Melvin, and you said he's in a good place, but you know what his expectations are. And even though he may be selfless, he's acknowledged before that sometimes he gets frustrated if he's not playing up to his level. Mm-hmm. What do you, or either you or Thomas, have to do just to remind him if he doesn't put up big numbers in a particular game, just to kind of relax and be patient and fight through it?
You know, the big thing with Melvin is I'm on guard on that for any player when, you know, they may be in a position to have expectations that they put on themselves or that they think have been put on them. I see zero signs of that, and when I talk to Melvin about it, he's like, "Coach, I'm good. I'm ready to go." I believe him when he says that to me. I don't think he's just casually saying that to move me along the way and just end the conversation. I honestly believe he's saying, "Coach, I know I'm going to have my opportunity to get mine, and I'm looking forward to that happening hopefully this week."
Back.
Coach, along those same lines, you kind of talked about last week potentially moving Dare over to tailback situation. Well, how's that kind of coming along?
It's that's a continued work in progress a little bit. You know, Dare had the other color jersey on there the other day, so I have not gone down to the offensive side and spent a lot of time. But he's a very flexible young man. He's unselfish. He'll do whatever he needs to be able to get done, and hasn't played a lot of a tailback scenario, but he is in our drills when we tackle what we call a speed and space drill. It's just offense versus defense. You use a lot in camp and early in spring ball. He's very difficult to tackle with the ball in his hands, and that was kind of the reason for moving him there. We'll see as we go through this week how much we're going to need him. Hopefully we can start to get one or two of those backs back here in the next 10, 12 days.
Tammy?
Did you feel like the running game needed work in the bye week after its performance against Western Illinois?
Oh, we want to run the ball better. That's all of us. That's everybody involved in the run game, including myself. We want to run the ball better than we did against Western. Again, I give them a lot of credit. But did we work on it? Absolutely. Do we expect to run the ball better this week than we did in week 2? Yes, we do. And I'm sure Bowling Green's going to load up the box and challenge us to run the ball effectively.
Gary, does how fast they run their offense impact your substitution patterns? I know Dave likes to use a whole bunch of different packages. Does that impact you guys, and do you guys have to maybe cut those down a little bit?
We'll still carry our packages. You don't go. I wouldn't say we're over the top with the number of packages we carry defensively. It's usually 3, and I guess if you put in a red zone package for goal line scenarios, it may be 4. We'll carry those packages with us. Does it cause issues with the timing? Yes, it does. And even more so the substitutions of, we like to rotate defensive linemen, and you're strategic on how you try to rotate those players and get them in the game. This crew, Bowling Green, they'll change personnel groups sometimes in the middle of drives, and oftentimes they'll run the whole drive down the field and stay in the same personnel group, which in turn doesn't give you a great chance to be able to sub very often. So, like I said earlier, it does cause us issues, but it won't change the amount of packages that we carry.
Jeff?
Here, you mentioned talking about a third tailback, given the situation now. Even though Austin is now your number 1 fullback, can he give you ball? Can he carry the ball in a single back set? I mean, he did a lot in the spring.
Yes,
if you need to. Yeah,
he could do that in a game. That would probably, at this point, it would require a tight end to become a fullback, or we'll run our 12 personnel run game. But that is definitely would be a step that we would look to take if we had to.
Gary, how vital has Alex Erickson's development been to this wide receiver core? And is what he did in week 2 better than what you had hoped he could bring? Or, what are your impressions of?
Well, you look at him, Alex, and the way he competes, the way he prepares, I'm not surprised. The drive he had to get back off that injury, and it took some time to get back off that injury. But he's just so detailed. He's so smart, and he's so competitive that a lot of times that's a vicious combination, and he runs great routes. He's got good hands. He knows how to leverage in and out of routes, and I think he takes coaching well. So his success is a ton of credit to him from the day he was a walk-on until he got on scholarship, and he moved himself forward from there. And I really think his expectations for him is to be a great receiver, not a good receiver. And he took some good steps in that on game 2. So he's a focal point of this offense, and the coaches on the offensive side of the ball have really felt like that for quite some time, that he was going to rise up and be a very good wide receiver. And that's not coaches that just have coached a year or two. That's it's Andy Ludwig and Chris Beatty. When they say that, that's pretty a compliment to a young man.
Gary, with all due respect to Western Illinois, why were you unable to run the ball no matter how many people they put in the box?
Well, I think they did a nice job. I know they did a nice job of taking our combination blocks away from us. And when I say that, the linebackers were playing very close to the line of scrimmage, so there was not the and they slanted. They went from A gap, B gap alignment to one gap movement, which we're used to seeing. But we just had a difficult time getting those creases inside, and I really do think those two inside linebackers are good football players, and we had some trouble with their quickness and them getting downhill into the gaps. So when you're running, the zone schemes, and your idea is to somehow, some way, between the A gap and the D gap as it goes over, again, without getting too technical on you, your goal is to find a way to split the defense in half, and we weren't able to do that until late in the third quarter and a few of those runs in the fourth quarter. So it was a good scheme. They were obviously wanted to play the run, and it's +1, +2 sometimes in the box. At that point, you better find a way to loosen them up. If you can't throw it, it's going to be tough sledding against anybody when they're that ganged up on you. And we were able to fortunately throw the ball, and hopefully we'll continue to do that, and that'll back some people off.
John.
I'm sure you've seen some of the success the Mid-American Conference has had against the Big Ten so far, and this is a defending champion of the league. What sort of challenge are you expecting out of Bowling Green?
Well, first of all, I have great respect for the MAC. I've played them in a couple bowl games in the past, and you watch them through those games, and they're tough kids. They're very well coached. I think the coaches in that league will do a tremendous job of recruiting. I apologize for not knowing number one's name, but he's a true freshman wide receiver, and he's as good as true freshman wide receiver I've seen, out there this year playing. And he's a very, very talented young man. And so it's a credit to the way they recruit. So they'll walk in here, and again, they're a championship team. They expect to win. They expect to play at a high level, and I would expect nothing else out of them. They're well coached, so this will be a tremendous challenge. And as you see, the world of college football is getting closer and closer from the bottom to the top in a lot of different areas, and we need to make sure we do all we can because we'll be challenged in this football game.
Gary, where would you say your biggest depth concern is on this team, and to what degree has the depth been impacted by people who have left and by how many injuries you have on your list right now?
Well, I would say if we just look at the injuries, this is something we talk about as a staff, and I evaluated this over the bye week, and it's a great question right now for us. When we came in, we had a issue with the number of offensive linemen. We had some kids that were signed and didn't end up making it and got put on medical. We all know the stories behind those kids, and so our numbers were way down there, and that had gone on for a year or two. So we got those numbers back up. Last year we looked at ourselves and said, the defensive backfield is going to be in that scenario and in that setting. So fortunately Sojourn came along and did what he did, and this year that Derek Tyndall's come around, and obviously Luburn being in the safety position has really helped us with youth. So we feel better about that spot. Defensive line feel the same way. We're very young, but a couple young men step up as redshirt freshmen and hop in and play for us right away and are doing a good job. So I would say on this team right now, running back would be one. That was not really foreseen. Obviously with the injuries, there's 4 injuries there, and we didn't expect to have 4 injuries in that spot, so that's an issue. And after that, I would say the continued building the depth and the skill set that we need at the wide receiver position to compete at the highest level, because that's at the end, that's where we're all trying to get to.
Jim.
Gary, Robert Wheelwright obviously fell behind with the injury in camp. Have you seen signs that he's working his way back to where he was before the injury?
Yeah, I think Robert's working hard. It's just he's kind of in a let's take the next step position, and Robert is growing. It's a maturing process, on and off the field, and I see signs of improvement, and we're all excited to see those reflect into practice and on game day, and no one's more excited about that than Robert. So we hope that takes place here real quick.
Obviously, as a coach, you want to see every player improve in every possible way. But when you watch Tanner play, what do you think's the one part of his game that you see and say, if he improves at that, he'll be a pretty good quarterback for us for a while?
I would say the poise in the pocket, just making sure that he uses the opportunities to use his legs effectively when he needs to. And that's when an athletic quarterback gets back there, he has the tendency to try to make everything happen for himself and let the offense come to him. When it's there, when it's not, then let's go make a decision and let's let our legs work. If he can do that, he's not a pocket passer. I'm not asking him to do that, nor no one will in this offense ask him to do that, but we want him to hang in there, let the offensive line do their work, and throw the ball down the field when the opportunity is given.
Jeff?
Gary, on the depth chart, it looks this week compared to last week. Jacobs is now back behind Schobert at outside, and then Dakota Dixon is where Jacobs was last week. What's the rationale behind the moves, and what do you expect to get out of those two guys?
Well, Dakota is continually fighting to be able to consistently be on the field with the shoulder injury, so hopefully he can keep going. With Leon, we just feel like at the outside linebacker position, we have Vince, we have Joe Schobert, and we have Jesse Hayes. That being said, the more we move into this odd package and the kids are familiar with the terminology and the concepts of the defense, those three that I named have an opportunity to be able to play the F and the B linebacker. And, we've moved to letting us all be in the room together, which helps us learn. With the Fs, the Bs, and the safeties are all meeting together, and that's a positive thing in the direction that we're headed. In turn, that gives Leon, there he sits as either third or the fourth linebacker, and that doesn't even put Sitchy in the mix as maybe the fourth guy at the outside linebacker spot. So Leon's opportunity to get on the field and best for himself and our defense is to put him back in there and let him have a chance to. But he'll be, you're going to see him both spots.
Just a follow-up. Is this the first year you guys had the Fs, the Bs, and the safeties meeting together? And why did you decide to do that? What did you hope to get out of that?
Well, we went with the Fs, and the Fs went with Coach Bush. And last year, the Fs and Bs met together. Then I took over the Bs, and then he took the Fs, which there's a lot of similarities between a down safety and an F linebacker. So they were meeting together, and now just with Coach Bush and I, we've been together for so long, I think we speak the same language. We can move through a meeting without a coaching ego, trying to out-coach each other. Like sometimes young coaches want to take over the room. Coach Bush and I can get in the room and communicate with the three different position groups there and handle it in a way where those kids, I think they can see the whole picture of the defense, which they need to be able to, continually grow.
I think the stat was following the last game that in 6 of your 15 games since you've been coach here, the defense hasn't allowed a touchdown. Do you think this is the unit you have right now, a dominant defense, or the potential to this season become a dominant defense?
I think this defense has a ways to go, but they're hungry to get there, and they want to be a very, very good defense. It's fun to watch. Again, the older kids and the younger kids kind of mix within this defense and understand the expectation levels of how we want to play defensively and consistently play defensively. So that the pieces to the puzzle, I believe, are there. They're not all in the exact spots, but they got the attitude and the want to get there. They've tackled well, which was good to see. This will be a tremendous challenge this week tackling. And I think we'll sit here a week from now, and if we tackled very good in this game, I will say we have a good opportunity to be where we need to be. But there's probably 15 to 18 missed tackles in the last game. Those kids make you miss, and we've got to tackle well. I'm not saying we're not going to have any missed tackles, but we need to tackle well. If we can do that, I think this defense can move forward to becoming a very solid defense.
We got time for one more. Rob in the back.
Gary, you said you were going to watch a lot of football on Saturday. How many games did you get in, and what were your thoughts on Bowling Green's final drive against Indiana?
I watched almost all. I recorded that game, so I kind of watched that and then rewatched it again. And other than that, like I said, I would probably be bouncing back on a million different channels, which I was. So the next day I didn't know half the teams that won because I was bouncing all over the place. But it was a competitive day. It was a good day of college football. The final drive was very impressive. they found a way to get down the field and score, and they took advantage of some opportunistic scenarios that were put in front of them, and they threw a great fade ball out there at the end and isolated the kid, and he made a great play as a true freshman. To make that play is fantastic. So the 2-minute drill was successful. They won the game, and they deserved to win the game when you go down the field. Wasn't 90 some odd yards in a minute and whatever time was left.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.